G'day guys and welcome back today to the Freo Faithful podcast, episode 8. Andy Brayshaw's number. We didn't acknowledge Fife's number last week. And I'm joined by my friend, UCat. How you going, young fella?
I'm very good. Didn't acknowledge Jordan Clark either, who's an absolute jet as well.
So Heath Chapman the week before.
Oh, Sean Darcy. We're not going to keep going. Yeah, good to be here.
So wrong. Oh, Jager. Oh, God. Yeah, you have just been at Gather Round. Tell me about your weekend, mate. It looked like a lot of fun. I wish I was there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. If you just look at the results across the whole weekend, there wasn't a single close game, to be honest. But just the whole atmosphere, like I've been at all three gather rounds, and the sort of buzz just gets more vibrant by the year. Adelaide's such a great place to hold it. It's the central place of Australia. Fans from all over the country come in, and Adelaide's just a real festival over that 4 or 5 day period. We were out in the sticks this year. First couple of years we've been in and around the CBD. This year, the players and the fans have been sent out to the Barossa, which was an absolute trek to get to. So
how far are we talking?
The bus was about an hour and a half to get there. But on the way back, it was about 2.5 hours. So it's a full day. It's a pretty big effort. But yeah, it was very fun. And obviously, the most important thing, we got the 4 points.
Yes. I went to Gather Round last year, had a lot of fun. The only reason I really didn't go this year is because I've got a big Europe trip coming up that I'm saving up for. But I'll definitely be there next year. Do you think it was better than last year? Do you think it just keeps getting better and better and better?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that they're very innovative with just so many things. I'm very careful about what words I use this week after the feedback we got on last week's pod. Dynastism. Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, before all the night games, I had these light shows at the Adelaide Oval when, there were 35, 40k people in their seats, brought the real atmosphere out. And overall, I just think that they've done so well at just promoting the whole thing. When they started it back in 2023, it was a bit unknown how it would go. It's a very, very new concept for the AFL who, historically haven't been the most innovative in terms of just bringing out new things. So this gather round thing was very, very big. And I remember the first year, it went well, but it was very quiet. Like, you could feel there was a festival, but, I don't think anyone could really imagine how big it's turned out. And I can guarantee in 2026, it'll be even bigger.
Hopefully we can be given a game that is a bit more competitive, or we don't get robbed at, because that's what I suppose the Gold Coast one the first year was good. But
that was great, yeah.
We'll get into the game. I was kind of happy we were a bit off Broadway, out in the Barossa. The players could, just chill out there, do whatever they want. I'm not sure how much stuff they actually did in the city, but go up against Richmond, who are obviously a young side going into the game. I've sort of got this new mindset this year of, I know we're better than most teams, but I'm not going to get my hopes up because every team has talent at the moment. And even in that first half, I don't know how you saw it, but I just saw it as, a young team having a crack. Really were up for the fight in that first half. And then our maturity, our pressure, and our connection really shone in that second half, and 9-1 second half. What did you think about the start and just the game generally?
I'm so happy we're on the same page in that first half, because I honestly just thought, Brisbane copped it in the fourth quarter the week before, and in the first week, while Carlton aren't very good, that was still a shock win. Richmond are a young team that we knew were going to have a crack, that were going to bring the heat. But I think a real big stepping stone in the evolvement of our game is that we haven't succumbed to pressure brought to us by an inferior team. I think in previous years, main case study would be the Derby last year, where we went in as massive favourites and we just completely folded, lost by 40, and they kicked the first 7 of that game, and we couldn't really come back. I think we would have gone into the game knowing we were expected to win, but I think we stayed very process driven, and overall we just always knew the different gears we had in us. And I think that first half, Richmond played some good football. We got caught out a couple times, but overall it was just a very, very professional performance from back to front. I thought the leaders stood up when they needed to, and I think the game went completely how I expected it to.
Yeah. Ended up getting a 61-point win in the end. You were talking about going into that game expecting to win. Now that we've won 3 in a row, and we've been hyped up all off season to be a premiership contender, I think we have to go into every game expecting to win. I think the talent's there now. obviously expectations are the thief of joy or whatever it is. So like maybe if you go into a game expecting to win and then we lose, but I think like we've got to believe that we're in every game to win it at this point. There's not many teams in the comp that, like if we played them at Optus, I'd think, oh, we're no chance here. But speaking to the game specifically, so good to see Hayden Young, Sam Switkowski and Sean Darcy back into this side. They all fitted in seamlessly, particularly Hayden Young in that midfield. I think he had about 17 touches on the day, kicked a couple of goals, but the link up that we're already seeing between Hayden Young, Caleb Sarong and Brayshaw to now have Shea Bolton in that mix. Some of the plays that these guys are pulling off together look like they've been playing together for a lot longer than they have, particularly for Hayden Young's first goal. I think Hayden Young is the outlet kick from a bit of congestion. He hits, I think it's Sarong. Sarong hits up to Bolton, and then they just both stream through the middle. Handball to Hayden Young. Bang. Goal from 60. The connection was there for a goal in the, I think it was the first quarter, maybe the third quarter, when there was a 1-2 in the middle. Bolton kicks it in deep to Treacy. What did you make of the midfield as a whole, and how different did it look with Hayden Young in there with Bolton and the others?
I don't even think it looked a whole lot different to what we've seen in the past couple wins. I just think Hayden Young's a higher quality player than what we've had rolling through there. I just think the way, the level he does his fundamentals at is at a level where I don't think many players in the league do it better. His field kicking is absolutely astonishing. I mean, we've talked about him moving to halfback because we've struggled to have someone of that echelon with their foot skills back there. But I think, on the weekend he reminded us how vital he is to that engine room. He was so good. He linked up so quickly with Sarong, Brayshaw, and especially Bolton, who he'd never played with before. Obviously, they would have played together in a few intra-clubs in the preseason, but in terms of an AFL environment, I think that Richmond game was a really nice sort of welcome back for Hayden Young to AFL football. Shea Bolton, I thought that was his best game as a Docker. He could have had 5 if we're talking about the missed opportunities. I think his midfield work was, again, the best he's had all season. Brought a real different dynamic. I mean, Young brings an entirely different dynamic, but Shea Bolton is just adding another layer to that. And then Strong and Brayshaw, we know what they can do. Andy Brayshaw was on a different scale on the weekend in particular. He was fantastic. He was working so hard, finding the outlet mark. His tackling pressure was elite. And then, our other in the midfield was Sean Darcy. And I'm not sure how evident it was on TV, but his work rate was... I've never seen the bloke work harder. He was running so hard to get from contest to contest. He was keeping up with Toby Nankervis, who's in very good form. He's been Richmond's probably best player this season. And he was keeping up with him around the ground in the contest and competed really well. And Sean's only going to get better from here on out. So, I think it was really good to see those two in particular back out there in the engine room.
Yeah, Darcy looked like he was moving around pretty nicely. Like had a bit of speed to him, which is good. He looks like he's slimmed down a little bit more toned. You're talking about Brayshaw there. I think we're now seeing Brayshaw really blossom into his prime. Like the last 3 weeks, the performances he's been consistently performing have been magnificent. He had 10 tackles for the day. And just run so hard. We know what Brayshaw does, but we're so lucky to have such a professional and such a high performer at our club. You're talking about Bolton as a mid there. I didn't really expect him to play as much midfield as he has for us, but I'm not complaining at all because he's one of the hardest players to tackle. So good with his ball use. We've spoken about, his connection with these mids has really gone to started at such a high level. So I think having him as the sort of silky X factor mid, and Hayden Young's your big body burst sort of not Bond, or maybe he is a Bond type, I don't really know, but he's that big body that can really drive his legs. Sarong, the contested ball, but really thought he had a good game by foot as well. And then Brayshaw is a bit of an all-rounder, so really well-rounded in the middle there. I can't remember who it was on the fan cams, but they were saying how good of a game Matt Johnson had. I think that's sort of 2-3 weeks now that he's strung together where he's looked really solid. Not that he's getting heaps of the footy, but I feel like he just looks more at the level now in terms of his composure on the ball, standing up in the tackle and that type of thing. I don't know how much you want to talk about Matt Johnson, but I've started to really notice that he has matured at the level.
Matt Johnson's had a really good season. Interesting he's been brought up in particular on this game. It wasn't something or someone I necessarily pointed out.
It's just sort of like a accumulation of results now.
Well, I completely agree. I think I may have spoken about a couple of weeks ago on the pod how, you know, for a couple of years he's been that frustrating type that keeps running into trouble and keeps being pinged holding the ball. When now when he runs into an opposition defender, they just can't tackle him. He's just such a bull, and he's a lot smarter with how he uses his big body. You know, a trait he's had for a couple of years now. He's really built himself up in the gym. And yeah, I think Matt Johnson's really coming into his own. And it's not like he's coming into the prime of his career either. He's still a super young talent. We've got playing best 22 footy every week at AFL level. So yeah, I
just feel like he gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
he does.
I just feel like the coaches realise like we've got a good player here, because he was projected, much like Murphy Reid, to sort of be a top 10, top 15 pick all year, and he slid to us at about pick 20, pick 22, something like that.
Second round. It was the first pick of the second round, I remember.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just feel like he now believes in himself, and the coaches obviously have the belief in him that he will be a good player for us. And I think that's what we're starting to see with MJ. We love to see it. You're talking about the halfback position and Hayden Young. You know, we've spoken about pushing him back, but Heath Chapman has now sort of started to hit his stride this season, I think, a 26 disposal game. I think he went at about 80% efficiency as well. Those corridor kicks is what he can bring, as well as all the IQ to put himself in the right position offensively, and then defensively he's just rock solid. What did you make of our defence and Heath Chapman in general?
I think my favourite thing about Heath Chapman on the weekend was that, as you said, he ended with 26 or something disposals. You know, it would be close to a career high for him. But I thought at halftime, I messaged Dad saying how good Heath Chapman was. Him and Brazier were the two I pointed out as being two of our best. And out in the Barossa, I had 0 reception. I didn't know his stats. And looking in hindsight, statistically, his first half wasn't as good as I thought it was. He racked up a lot of the ball in that second half. So I think the fact he's playing his best footy when he's not necessarily accumulating an incredible amount, and then to be able to have that in his arsenal as well, is such a promising trait. His ball usage is ridiculous. Again, we were speaking about, you know, is a shift for Hayden Young to halfback worth it just to get that damaging kick back there yet again, and I think Heath Chapman has stepped up to the plate yet again. Luke Ryan, I think his ball usage in the past couple of weeks and more his decision making has been a lot better. Alex Pearce, I mean, just an absolute general down there. I want to give a shout out to Jade Rawlings as well. This is our first season with a new back coach, and he was head coach at Norwood. He won a Samford premiership with Norwood a few years ago. This guy has been in the game for a while, and to have this guy with so much experience organise our backs week after week, I think there's been a real improvement shown on an already really strong back six. So I think he's done a fantastic job, and I don't really see a weak link in our back line at the moment. And I do want to put it out there. I'm not sure what you think about this, but I think since Brandon Walker's gone out the side, we've looked a little bit better back there, a little bit more organised. And I've been a Brandon Walker fan for a little bit when a lot of people haven't been. But I think the versatility of so many of our guys to play tall and small, I think not having Walker there doesn't necessarily impact us as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, good point. I think we have looked a bit more assured, to be honest, but it's a small sample size. But yeah, I definitely don't think that we're missing him, which is quite an interesting point. Even Carl Warner thought he had a pretty solid game against.
Yep.
That was like one of his better games. Again, it's only against Richmond, so we don't want to get too carried away. And we've got the Dees coming up. So, yeah, I feel like we're at the point of the year now where it's just dealing with business. The teams that we're better than, we beat. But we've got a pretty tough run coming up after the Dees. We'll go over that game. But the Crows, we've got the Saints, we've got Collingwood. And do we have maybe GWS in that
Giants are in there, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where you really find out how good we are. We haven't spoken about the forward line. There are a few points to go through with the forward line, but obviously we'll start it off with Josh Treacy, 6 big snags. Just dominated the game from the word go. He can just do everything. If you put it on his head, he'll beat you one-on-one. If you put it into space out the back, he's explosive to get there first. He hits up hard. The pressure that he brings. I don't even know how much we really need to say on Josh Treacy, because we all know what player he is. He's the best forward we've had since Pav. And he's now sat on 17 goals, tied with Ben King for the Coleman. What did you make of JT's game, the JT show?
He's taken the piss, to be honest. Like, he is 22 years of age. We got him late in the rookie draft a few years ago. And for someone who had a first 25, 30 games that weren't, there wasn't a lot to write about. Like, we saw promising signs and we saw a base there, but I still don't think even the most optimistic Josh Treacy fans could see him turning out to be the player he is currently. Every time you kick the ball to him in a 1-on-1, 1-on-2, 1-on-3 situation, it doesn't matter. He could be in the worst position ever. But he just finds himself with the ball. He's got some of the stickiest mitts we've ever seen. And I can't remember who it was, but it was someone on Fox saying, Josh Treacy's still a good player, not a great player. Why is this man not a great player? Like, he is the absolute catalyst of a team that really should be making top 4 this year. As you said, our best...
He's got to do it for a while first before you can call him great. Like, right
maybe.
now he's in All-Australian form. Like, obviously he's showing signs of being great, but I think to be great, you've got to do it
maybe fair
consistently. Someone that hasn't been great. Now, it's alarm bell time because we're, 5 weeks into the season? Jai Amos had 2 touches against Richmond.
Yeah.
Now, we're not the Roast the Player channel, but it's becoming harder to defend Jai's performances. I know in the Bulldogs game, he got 1 goal. He competed well down the line against Lob, and he's an important piece for us structurally. But us losing Voss seems like a much bigger concern than if someone like Amos went out. You can't be getting 2 touches and being played the week after. I don't care who you are. What do you make of Amos's form?
Well, he will be playing next week, as you said, because of the Vossy thing, and he will be playing for the next few weeks till we can even consider dropping him, because I'm not really sure who we've got in the Magoos. It's not good enough, is it? I mean, that was the cherry on top of what's been a pretty disappointing start to the season for Jai. 2 touches against... Richmond's back 6 aren't bad. Don't get me wrong, there were some premiership defenders back there. There were some real good young talent, but he was just completely held out of the game. If Josh Treacy didn't kick 6, that game would have been a lot closer. And it wasn't the fact, you can have a good game without kicking a goal, but the guy didn't even get involved in the general play up and down the ground. He may have done a few good off-ball things I may have not necessarily seen, and the coaching staff would have been happy with, but from a naked eye, I don't think Jai has been good enough for a while now. He kicked 4 in the Derby, which we thought may have given him a bit of a confidence booster, but in hindsight, 3 of those were out-the-back goals, quite cheap, and against a gassed-out West Coast backline. So... is that what he needs to kick his goals? I've still got faith in Jai. He's still a super young player. We spent a high draft pick on him. And I think we've seen the promise early in his career that gives us enough faith that he will come good. But it's becoming increasingly more likely that the way to bring back this guy's form and ability to AFL level is giving him a spell in the waffle, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Some of the great players have had to spend time in the first few years of their career in the twos, and they've ended up becoming very, very good footballers for their club. So yeah, I do think Jai needs a spell in the waffle at some point. I don't think it will come in the next few weeks because of the whole Voss thing, and Jackson's out, so it makes it a little bit hard to get rid of him. But yeah, I do agree. He hasn't been good enough for a little while now.
Yeah, Amos has shown his ceiling is quite high in particularly that first year. Like, his best year for us was his rookie season. I think it's just a mentality thing with him, man, because he's got the body, he's athletic enough, but yeah, I don't know. It's like he's got to be completely mentally on to perform, and we just haven't seen it this year. And again, against West Coast, he kicked 4, a couple of nice goals, but it's against West Coast. Like, when we're in September, I just don't have a whole lot of faith that, you know, he's going to rise to the occasion, because we haven't seen it consistently enough for a long time now. I've been someone that's defended Jai Amos a lot. But yeah, really down on form, and I hope that there's a bit of selection integrity. I suppose we're pretty thin with our forward stocks, especially with Jackson out, but like, if you're not playing, you shouldn't be picked. And he just hasn't really displayed much at all this year, which is disappointing, because we expect him to come on, and he will at some point, I hope. But it doesn't help when Paddy Voss is playing the footy that he's playing, pinch hitting as a second ruck, leading hard at the ball, kicked a great goal throwing Vlastuin off him and brings a massive celebration. So he's bringing the character, bringing the passion. And Voss and Amos are always going to be compared, I think, now. But Vossi has more of that Treacy in him. They're sort of being labelled as the Bash brothers, Treacy and Voss, because they just love the contact. They love the contest. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the next month pans out for Jai Amos, because with a side that's performing the way it is and good performances across the park in every line, Amos is clearly the only one that's not in form. When you even look at Isaiah Dudley, who came on for a quarter and had more touches than Jai, Murphy Reid, first-year player, doing great things, hitting the scoreboard. There's just, quality on every line. I think every player's been performing really well, except for number 24, but we'll back him in to improve.
One person we have not discussed yet, he's kicked 6 goals in 2 weeks, and he's been someone we've been a bit critical of, Michael Frederick.
Yes!
He is back, and he is actually getting himself involved in some general play. That was our main criticism of him at the start of the season. He could go a game of kicking 1 or 2 goals, but he'd be very, very quiet in, bringing pressure or providing an outlet kick. And providing a leading option up the ground. Last couple games, he's really showing why we pick him. 6 goals in 2 games, 3 against the Dogs, 3 this week against the Tigers. And he's really showing his value in that front 6. And I've loved the improvement of his game. And he's clearly growing in confidence. And he's going to keep on kicking on from here. I've loved Freddie the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%. Ever since we criticised him in those first couple rounds, he's really found form. I think him and Bolton work really well together. And something that I was just noticing watching the game when they'd sort of do like a wide view, our talent in the front half is so good now. When you got Frederick, Young, Switter, Bolton just circling around a contest, like some good things are going to happen. Really stoked with Freddie and all of our sort of small to mid-sized forward brigade. They've been looking the goods.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are really coming together now. It's been a struggle. Even in 2022, it was sort of the Rory Lobb types that were getting most of our goals in that front half. And in the 23 and 24 campaigns, they've been a little bit more disappointing. The smalls have let us down quite a bit. This year, over the 5-game stretch to start the season, has been the most consistent sort of form we've seen from the medium small guys. And look, Bailey Banfield's still in this team, but he's not necessarily playing a full-time forward role. And I again thought he was pretty serviceable on the weekend. We don't need all 22 guys out there to be absolute superstars. I think he plugs a hole that he's filling okay at the moment. And then Murphy Reid, I didn't necessarily think it was his best game of the season, but he just competed non-stop all day. It'd be very easy for a young player to just put his head down when he's not getting the ball or not getting the opportunities, but I think he competed really well all day, and whenever he did get it, he used it well, as we know Murphy can. So, I think it was a good day from all our small, medium types, and obviously great to have Switter back as well. Brought some much-needed pressure alongside the likes of Murph and Bolton. Our forward line's going to be a big discussion point heading into next week, because old Paddy Voss has absolutely clobbered Nick Vlastuin. At first, I knew it was a suspension. I thought it was probably just a week, because I didn't think... it certainly wasn't intentional. It wasn't
intentional to break his nose, or it was intentional to come through with the force.
Exactly. It was a tackle attempt, don't get me wrong. But you can't be coming across with a flying, uncontrolled arm into his nose. It just is 3 weeks. I appreciate us having a go, because we can't really afford to lose him at the moment. It's 3 weeks. And it leaves a big discussion point into who we replace him with down there.
I would like to keep the team. Well, I don't want to see Liam Reedy and Sean Darcy rolling around the same field. That would suck. I think we saw a bit of Draper in the ruck in the back half, and I reckon maybe even chucking Jai in there. I don't know.
Maybe.
Can you play that role at all? I don't know. So I don't want to see Reedy come back in. I think
JL is pretty hell-bent on this 3-tall structure as well. So I'm not even sure if the ruck's the main issue here with Voss pinch hitting. I think it might just be, you actually might have to bring in an extra tall. And is that Brandon Cox heading to the forward line? I think that's a genuine possibility. And then that leaves the opening for another back to come in. So yeah, I think the magnets really could be flipped around this week. It's going to be very interesting whether JL sticks to his principle of the 3-12 structure or whether we do go a bit smaller against the Dees.
Coming up against the Dees this week, who have not won a game this year. They're 0-5. I live with a Dees fan, so I'm a little bit... I sort of err on the side of optimism with the Dees. When you look at their centre clearance stats and their inside 50s, not bad. It's just their scoring that's letting them down. Luckily, we have an incredible defence. Our backs are so good. Pearce, Ryan, Draper, Chapman, Cox can all intercept. Ryan, Draper, Chapman can all play tall and small. And then you got Geordie Clark just sprinkled in there for good measure. Our backs should be able to handle this, no worries. But the D's are going to respond this week against us. I don't think it's going to be a 50 to 60 point win as much as I hope it is, because they're going to want to respond at their home deck. They've got a lot to prove. There's a lot of pressure. They've sort of got nothing to lose in a way as well. But we just got to come in and sort of bring the same mentality as we did to the Richmond game. Business as usual. Get the 4 points with a better team. We're more connected. How do you see this matchup on Saturday?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not necessarily a hostile environment we'll be going into either. It's Saturday Arvo, 15k at the MCG. It'll be a cold afternoon. It's not... where we just have to rock up, do the job. It's going to be very similar to the Richmond game in how we're not going into a hostile environment. We're not playing against a team that is expected to challenge this year, but we just have to stay very process-driven, and this game is like any other. Going into next week as well, there are two Melbourne Demons, two very good players that are facing fitness tests, them being Stephen May and Cozzy Pickett. So depending on how many of them get up, that would only be a bonus for us if they miss. Two very, very high quality players. And I'm looking at the Melbourne 22 from last week. It's not bad. You've got some premiership players in there. You've got some players that are very capable who have done it at other clubs and at the D's in the past. The front six isn't bad, the back six isn't bad, and that midfield is absolutely incredible. So I think they'll get going at a stage in this season. This 0-5 start is weird. It's really, really odd. They won a premiership 4 years ago with a large chunk of this list. None of these guys, some of them might be getting on the older end, but a lot of these guys are in the absolute prime of their careers, and their football just isn't showing it. So I think Melbourne will click into gear at some stage, and look, we can't be naive. It might be this week they click into gear, and we have to be ready for it. I don't think we can be fooled by their 0-5 start, but yeah, it's a really interesting and weird game to preview.
I feel like I went to the game they played against GWS and they competed really well with a lot of young players in that day. The Gold Coast one, I feel like Gold Coast, they're the goods this year for sure, but there was a moment where the D's had momentum, and if Bailey Fritsch marked a ball late in the third quarter, I think they would have been back within 3 kicks. He drops the mark. Gold Coast went end to end and scored on the siren. So everyone's hopping on the D's suck train, and when you're 0-5, you do suck. But I don't think they're like a West Coast suck, even though they're in the same camp. I think sort of once that connection forward of centre clicks, they will be a tough side to play eventually. However, Petrarca is looking slower. He's not looking like the Petrarca of old. Clary's output, even though he's looked good, has dropped from his prime. Jack Viney's all over the shop, so we should have their mids covered. Gawn will have a big game, but again, he's looking a bit tired after years of carrying the D's on his back. I think, we're just going to transition the ball really nicely, intercept with our tools, and the last 2 times we played the D's, we absolutely spanked them. So I hope we can do the same again at the MCG, get a bit of MCG experience, which is always vital. I expect us to win this game comfortably, but I wouldn't be surprised if the D's sort of made it challenging for us and made it a bit of an arm wrestle heading into the last quarter. But the last time we were at the G was a nightmare. So hoping for more happy memories. I'll be going. You'll be fan camming.
I will be.
Anything else you want to say on that game?
I do. Yeah, I'll also be doing a watch along for the game on Saturday over on my channel, UCAT. Link in description. But yeah. Shameless.
Nice.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to point out, I've watched most Melbourne games this year, and we need to play full 4 quarters because Melbourne in general play don't look terrible. They concede silly amounts of red time goals. Like, a lot of the goals they concede come in the last 2 minutes of quarters, and sometimes all those goals add up to the difference in these big losses they have. So I think we really need to take advantage of the fact that Melbourne aren't necessarily running out quarters very well, or maybe they're getting a bit mentally sidetracked. I'm not necessarily sure what's happening at Melbourne, to be honest, but I just think that's another game to keep in mind, that if we can run out all 4 quarters well, that'll hold us in really good stead on Saturday. And I'm sure we're already pounding with confidence. 3 straight wins on the board. And after this, if we can, touch wood, get a 4th, the next few weeks are going to look real promising.
100%. Heading into that clash against Adelaide at home following that. So, couple nice tune-ups with Richmond and Melbourne. Should have us playing with a lot of confidence. Our midfield's looking good. Treacy's in career best form. Our backs are standing up. Alex Pearce has had a great start and is really leading that back line. So we're happy. Happy days as Dockers fans. 5 rounds in. This is really before all the serious stuff starts. So realistically, I've done an Oppo preview with Caden this week. That is already up on the channel. Noah will have the team and the preview coming out in the coming days. And then, Saturday fan cams will be the go. And I think we can wrap it up there, Noah.
Yeah, we can. Again, as you said, it's before all the serious stuff. We are in round 6 of the season, playing Melbourne on a Saturday at the MCG. We're not necessarily previewing a blockbuster, are we? It's just a game we've got to rock up, get the 4 points, get out. And the next few weeks, it is primetime central. We've got Fridays and Thursdays all over the shop. So, we've really got to be tapped in for those. We've got to be tapped in for this week. And we've just got to mentally stay put for the entirety of this season, because it can be very easy to just get distracted and sort of come into games thinking it's going to be piss. We've just got to stay really mentally strong and stay process driven. I sound like JL, but it's just very, very important that we don't get too carried away. 3 wins on the bounce. We're in the 8. We've got a full forward that's dominating. We've got a midfield that's dominating. Let's just keep it rolling.
Bloody oath. Well said. Go Freo. Get another 4 points against the Dees. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see ya in the next one.